What's up, everybody? Oof. If you're looking for one of the most well-rounded cameras that you can buy in 2022 at a very, very affordable price, then, you know, I might just have the thing for you. If you've read the title, you already kind of know, but my favorite camera that I've been using for the past 4 years, it's been a workhorse of a camera, and I still think it holds up today in 2022. And the camera that I'm talking about is, yes, in fact, the a7 III. This camera is honestly, I'm telling you, this camera is amazing. When it first came out in 2018, I think it was like February 2018, it absolutely shocked the industry because it had some crazy features in it that were not really seen before, or at least they were seen before, but they were just like drastically improved on. Back when the a7S II was like, it really was the dream camera for a lot of people, including me. But then when the a7 III came out, it was crazy because it was half the price. It practically blew that camera out of the water in so many areas. So the Sony a7 III was supposed to be the successor to the a7 II, but in many ways it also became the successor to the a7S II. It shared similar video capabilities to that camera and in most cases bested it. The Sony a7 II was like the low light king. You could pretty much just like film in the dark. You could see everything. It was crazy. When the Sony a7 III came out, it could literally do the same thing. Maybe not as well, but like it could still go up to like 100,000 ISO, like which is just ridiculous. It had a 24 megapixel sensor for like a photo stills camera. It could shoot super fast. Like when would you ever? This camera came out for around $3,000, and it was like, yeah, I can pretty much do everything you can, but better. The Sony a7S II had autofocus, but it wasn't great. A lot of people just like didn't even rely on it. And then the Sony a7 III came out. Holy man, like I watched so many videos on just the autofocus. I always like thought Canon had the best autofocus because I would always watch like Casey Neistat and he'd have like the Canon 80D. It had like really good face tracking and all that stuff. The a7 III came out and it was like, yeah, I can also do that, but a little bit better. I know that cameras today do also have very good autofocus, but like for 2018, that was like the cream of the crop autofocus. Like it was nuts. I highly trust this camera and its photo capability. The colors look great. It's got great dynamic range. I can't really complain about any of that. And especially in like the wedding industry, because having like eye autofocus, I think that they introduced eye autofocus like maybe a year later after the camera came out. But being able to like press and hold a button and it just focused on the eyes whenever you were shooting photos, and you could pretty much just keep the focus mode on wide and you would just be completely confident that the camera was going to focus on the eye and just get the person's face perfectly in focus. Gone are the days where you have to pick the little spot in like the eyepiece, and then you have to like line it up to the eye and then move away and shoot. That's the thing, like the technology just changed that whole way of doing it. It was just nice not having to worry about that little detail of shooting. I had the Sony a6500, and that camera was really good for video too, and it was actually pretty good for photos, but like I always knew that I wanted to go full frame. And so when the Sony a7 III came out, I was like, this is my jam, this is my camera, this is the one that I really want to get, because it's the Sony a6500 but full frame and like on steroids, and that's pretty much what it was, and I was like pumped about it. When I worked as a video producer at my old church for about 4 years, I used my own Sony a7 III for everything. It was superior to their current cameras, and I just felt comfortable using it. I'd say the only thing that changed over the years was my lens selection. This thing is fully capable of doing some incredible video. And yeah, it does have limitations like not being able to do 4K 60, or it has a crop in 4K 30, but like not really a big crop. It's not that big of a deal. Today, I still consider it to be one of the best hybrid cameras that you can get. You can find this camera and a lens and a few batteries for like under $2,000, and that is very good for a hybrid camera that can do the stuff that this camera does. A lot of cameras keep changing like the functionality and the buttons on their cameras, but like what I love about Sony is that they always adapt and add more buttons or improve on the buttons that they have. They don't just like take buttons away and completely change things. So if you're torn between like the Sony a7C and the a7 III, here are a couple of reasons why you might want to choose one or the other. So if you're going for the a7C, I would choose that camera because it has unlimited recording time. If you plan on doing any sort of YouTube or interview stuff in the future, or if you do weddings and you want to record an entire wedding ceremony or a whole speech like Uncle John is speaking for 45 minutes long, the a7 III doesn't have it. It has like a 30-minute limit, so that kind of sucks. If you want more customizable buttons, if you want this guy right here, that could also be a deal breaker for you because the a7C does have one, but it's like that little one that's in the corner and it's not very good. Can we just talk about this? The fact that the a7 III came out in 2018 and it has dual card slots, and there are cameras, professional cameras coming out, and they still have one card slot. What the heck, man? Like, why are you doing that to us? Like, redundancy is so important, like especially if you want to do any professional work. So there's a couple mishaps that kind of came with this camera. It is very durable, but there are plastic parts on the inside, and I did drop my camera a couple times, and unfortunately, some stuff has happened. Like this, the battery compartment, like the little button that holds that's supposed to like hold the battery in, it just kind of broke. So yeah, it just comes out. It comes flying out as soon as I open the door. Luckily, it still works though when I close the door, but my microphone jack broke. It just stopped working. I'm not sure why. They're gonna get in the way. If you want to plug in a monitor, but then you also want to like charge, like look at this. You gotta like maneuver these things. Like that's my biggest gripe about that. But I mean, whatever, you can get around it. It's not that big of a deal. You can always just rip them off if you don't want to. But I don't recommend that because then it won't be weatherproof. So yeah. I personally think the tilt screen is very underrated. There's been a lot of times where I'm shooting photos or video and I want to shoot like this because not everyone shoots vertical these days. Like, like vertical content is king right now, but like you still have to shoot horizontal footage or photos once in a while. And like having this is actually like really helpful. It's kind of nice. It's not that flexible and like you can't go very many places, but like I don't know, I found it kind of useful, and like I like that when you have it tilted, it's still like centered. You know, you're looking down, it's centered right down the barrel, whereas like if it's flipping, it's out here, so you're kind of like looking and kind of trying to compose it. But again, those are just small things that don't really make that big of a difference. One of the biggest reasons not to get this camera is not having a 10-bit codec. If you can tell the difference between 8-bit and 10-bit, then that's a good reason to upgrade. But like if you can't tell the difference and you're just like getting into video, or you want a good camera to kind of upgrade from your starter camera, you're gonna be totally fine with this camera because it still looks incredible. I still think this camera looks really good. Like I've used the Sony a7S III and it is a beautiful camera, but like it's not like miles and miles apart from this camera. Like there's definitely color differences in 10-bit. You can still make your a7 III footage look incredible with just experience and a little bit of work and knowing how to light properly and everything. And yeah, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I did get a new camera, but that's for another video. This camera is gonna be such an incredible B camera and also photo stills camera. Like it's still gonna be my photo stills go-to camera because it's just so good for that. And the 24 megapixels is very valuable, it's very helpful. I still use it every single day and I'm still gonna keep using it. And like, even though I have a newer camera that is technically better, yeah, I still consider this camera to be one of the best hybrid, interchangeable mirrorless cameras that you can get in 2022. Thank you guys for watching, and I just want to thank you so much for being here, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful summer. here in Vancouver, it is sweaty nation right now, and I'm wearing this long sleeve and I am like absolutely drenched underneath. I'm probably gonna go take a shower and put an ice pack on my head or something because I'm very sweaty. Thanks guys for watching, and I hope that was valuable, and I hope that you got something from that. So I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys soon. See you.